Amazing, amazing. My friend Mason and I actually built what you just witnessed back in high school as part of a physics class project. And you know, if you took physics back in high school, then you probably did a similar project. They're called a Rube Goldberg machine. And if you're not familiar with a Rube Goldberg, basically they're kind of like this multi-part mechanism whereby you start it and then it sets off a massive chain reaction that ultimately accomplishes some kind of goal at the end. And I'm sure you can put two and two together to figure out what kind of mischievous thing that we are trying to accomplish with it. Anyway, today we're not talking about Rube Goldbergs, we're talking about bank accounts. But I want you to be able to, after watching this video, be able to set up your bank accounts just like you would a Rube Goldberg machine so that your cash can flow like never before. So I was able to grow my savings and investments to about $90,000 in 3 years. So this bank account setup is based off of my experiences doing just that. This should be very interesting. Imagine your set of financial accounts like a giant champagne tower, the likes of which you'd find at a party thrown by Great Gatsby. The glass represents the account and the champagne represents your money. Except instead of champagne, I'm going to use Arizona iced tea with ginseng and honey because A, it is absolutely delicious. B, it's very economical. And C, it's got that vaporwave aesthetic. Just look at it. If anyone from Arizona, the company, not the state, is watching this, please sponsor me. I love your drink. I will sip it in every single video, I swear. Okay, let's talk about account number one. The checking account. This is the front line of your financial fortress, the front gate, if you will. This is where all your incoming money should arrive at. Why, you ask? Well, the checking account is a perfect account to receive money and then direct it to where you need to go. It kind of acts as a launch pad that you can use to then move your money to all the different purposes that you need to fulfill with it. But all checking accounts are not made equal. Ho ho ho, no, my friend. That's why in today's video, not only am I going to break down a nice flow that you can use for all your accounts, but I'm also going to provide you with a checklist for each account so that you can choose the best account for your money. The first thing that I look for in a checking account is that it's free. Free, free, free. I don't want to pay a monthly fee. I don't want to pay transaction fees. I don't want to pay nothing. Keep all your hard-earned money that just came to you in your pocket. The second thing I want is a solid customer experience. And what I mean by that is I want the website to look pretty good. I want it to work very well. I want to feel like the company actually cares about me so that I can get my issues resolved quickly and efficiently. And I also want the functionality to work for my specific needs. Maybe that means I need checks. Maybe that means I need unlimited e-transfers. Whatever it is, I want to make sure that it has it. Third, you want to make sure that the bank is insured. For Canadians, this is going to mean that it has CDIC insurance. And for Americans, this is going to mean that it has FDIC insurance. And basically, this protects your money in the case that the bank fails. So this is very important. And finally, the last thing I look for is some kind of reward for using the account. Now, you might be thinking, wait a minute, a reward for using a checking account? Welcome to 2020, my friend. There are a lot of online banks that offer checking accounts that are kind of like hybrid accounts between checking and savings. So they basically function just like a checking account would, but they provide you with benefits that a savings account would. But this isn't a deal breaker for me. This is kind of more like a cherry on top. If it doesn't have these rewards, that's okay as long as it checks all those other boxes. In terms of recommendations for American viewers, the Charles Schwab High Yield Investors Checking Account seems to be the hands down favorite among many people. And for Canadians, I think the PC Financial Account looks pretty interesting if you're somebody who shops at a lot of PC branded grocery stores because you get some pretty nice rewards for shopping there. And the Wealthsimple Cash Account is also pretty interesting because it's a hybrid checking and savings account. And then Simply Financial and Tangerine are also good bets because they tick a lot of those boxes too. You're probably thinking, there's no way he got through this without spilling any Arizona. And you're right, but I thought it was more fun to include this. Let's say that you normally spend about $2,000 per month. In that case, it might make a lot of sense to keep something like maybe $3,000 to $5,000 in your checking account to kind of act as like buffer room as your expenses fluctuate. That's basically how I decided how much money to keep in my checking account. But any dollar that I received over and above that, it was time to direct this to a new purpose, the high interest savings account. A high interest savings account is a savings account that, well, pays you high interest. If the checking account was your front gate to your financial fortress, this is the inner keep. This is where you want to put money that you want to keep very safe, but you also want it to grow a little bit too. So this makes it perfect for something like an emergency fund or for short-term savings goals that you're looking to accomplish in the next few months or even in the next few years. That's why as I was building up my $90,000, I had a goal to put $30,000 into a high interest savings account because I was planning on quitting my job, which I did, and I wanted to have over a year's worth of living expenses put somewhere safe, which was the high interest savings account, so that I could use it if I needed to. So that's exactly what I did. The particular account that I used to accomplish this was EQ Bank. And for any Canadian viewers, this is the high interest savings account that I recommend to everybody hands down. I use it, I love it, and I'll put a link in the description down below, along with all the other accounts that I'm mentioning in this video. And check this out, a really cool trick that you should be able to do with most banks to actually make your money flow like a Rube Goldberg machine or a Champagne Tower is to set up an automatic recurring transfer. So let's say that you knew you could save about $500 per month. Well, you can set up a recurring automatic transfer to transfer $500 from your checking account into your savings account every single month so that you don't even have to lift a finger. You're saving money automatically. Your money's flowing like a Champagne Tower. It's great. In terms of a checklist for the high interest savings account, the first thing I look for is a competitive interest rate. Now, in this day and age when interest rates are pretty low and there's a lot of downward pressure on them, a competitive interest rate is always changing. So as of this recording, I'd probably say that a competitive interest rate would be somewhere above 0.5%. Second, you'll want to make sure that the account is free. This is money that you want to park somewhere, keep it safe, allow it to grow a little bit. You don't want to be paying any fees on that. Fee free. Third, make sure that the website is easy to use and that the functionality is there, because if you have your emergency fund in a high interest savings account and you actually run into an emergency, you're going to want to be able to transfer that money out instantly back into your checking account. So make sure that you can do that. And lastly, make sure it's either CDIC or FDIC insured. In terms of recommendations, well, I've already recommended EQ Bank for Canadians, and for Americans, you actually have a lot of options at your disposal. It's going to come down to probably personal preference, but if you're unsure where to start, I've seen Ally Bank get a lot of love. All right, our Arizona is starting to really flow. Once your checking account fills up to that buffer area that I talked about earlier and you're satisfied with the amount of money you have in your high interest savings account, now it's time to direct any new money into your investments. So we'll need to open up an investment account, but not just any investment account, my friend. We want to use something special. We want to use a tax-advantaged investment account. And for Canadians, this is going to mean a TFSA or an RRSP. And for Americans, this is going to mean the IRAs or the 401k. So I've previously done a few videos on the TFSA and the RSP and how to decide between those. So check those out if you haven't already. And I'll definitely be doing some videos about the IRAs and the 401k in the future as well. But those definitely deserve their own video to dive deep into. The reason why we want to use these special investment accounts is because they act as a tax shelter. And that basically means that they protect our investment profits from tax. And this is very important because we are investing for the future to do things like be able to retire. And if we have to pay some of our retirement money back to the government, well, that's going to make it a lot harder for us to actually be able to retire. So that's why the government actually created these accounts in the first place, to allow us to be able to save for retirement without paying taxes. So it's very important that we actually use them. In terms of a checklist for these tax-advantaged investment accounts, the very first thing I look for is zero commissions on trades. When it comes to investing, there's a few things that we can control, and one of those things is fees. Fees will eat into your returns and make it very hard for you to actually grow your investments, especially when you're just getting started out and you're only working with a couple hundred or a couple $1,000s. So make sure that your particular trading platform that you choose has zero commissions on trades. Second, I want to make sure that the trading platform actually works well. I want it to be easy to use, easy to understand, very clear information. Good customer support. With something as sensitive as investing, you don't want to be using a crappy platform that doesn't execute your trades properly half the time, or that crashes or anything like that. And it's also very important to be able to understand the information that's being presented to you so that you can make informed investing decisions. Third, I definitely want investors' insurance. Just like depositors' insurance, this will protect your money in the case that your particular brokerage goes under. For recommendations, I personally use both Wealthsimple Trade and Wealthsimple Invest in Canada. I use Wealthsimple Trade for my hands-on direct investing because the app is super clean, super easy to use, and there's zero commissions on trades. And I use Wealthsimple Invest for my kind of hands-off automated autopilot investing. For my American friends watching, you have a wide variety of really great options at your fingertips, and I would kind of divide them into two very broad categories. There's kind of the app-focused brokerages, and then there's the more desktop-focused brokerages. The app-focused brokerages are simple, they're very modern, they're easy to use, just tap your thumb a couple times and you're good to go. They're very tech-friendly and beginner-friendly. The desktop-focused ones are usually a bit more robust, but sometimes a little bit more behind the times in terms of how modern they are, and they can be a little bit more intimidating for beginners because they're presenting a lot of information that may or may not be necessary to you. Deciding between these two options is really going to come down to what type of investor you are. An example of a well-reviewed app-focused trading platform is Webull, and if you sign up for that right now, actually using the link in the description down below, you can get 3 stocks valued up to $1,600, which is really cool. And honestly, I wish I was American so that I could sign up for that and get those stocks. And then in terms of a more desktop-focused situation, we have Schwab and Fidelity as probably the two most loved brokerages in that category. And of course, to continue to optimize your cash flow, don't forget to then once again set up a recurring transfer from your checking account to your investment account to keep that money flowing, keep that champagne tower going, and get yourself that money. And that's how I bankrolled my way to $90,000. Cheers.